Hi, I'm Mike from Kaiju Battle, and I'm here to do a review on the Star Ace Kong 2.0 Deluxe figure. This bad boy. Now, first box, obviously very similar to version 1. You have the picture of the figure on the front with the logo. On the back, you get that same image of Kong against the sunset and the credits on the bottom. Pretty much very similar to version 1, very cool box. Now, with the figure, as most know, there's a deluxe version and there's a standard version. Now, with version 1, this guy here, he featured couple different things. He had the open fist on the standard and a more closed fist on the deluxe. He also had the little helicopter, which he holds in that fist, and he came with the base for the deluxe. Now, with that being said, they were doing basically the same thing for the version 2.0. Now, the main difference, obviously, between version 1 and version 2 is he's much more a dramatic pose, roaring up in that battle stance, where the other one, he's more just like tough guy, kind of standard stance. Very cool figure. Now, I really liked version 1 when I received it. The detail on it was amazing. Everything about it was amazing. So when I got version 2, I definitely wasn't disappointed. He's as cool looking as version 1 is, maybe even slightly cooler due to that dramatic pose. Detail on this figure is excellent. You got, total, great sculpt on the, hair on him, the accuracy of his body, everything. It's just amazing. Now, I went deluxe, so deluxe comes with the propeller in his hand and the chain as well. Now, I don't have a problem with that. I wanted the deluxe. Now, those who ordered the standard were expecting to get pretty much the same figure minus the propeller. As it turns out, the standard version actually comes with the propeller too, which some people were disappointed with because they didn't want that. That's one of the reasons why they ordered the standard. Now, the propeller is technically a separate piece, so if you want to, do a little something, you can get it out of there. I'm not going to play with it because I don't want to ruin them, but it is a separate piece technically. So for those who get the standard and don't want it, you want to make the effort to get it out of there, you can, but personally I would, but that's me. Now, another big difference with this one from version 1, other than obviously the pose, is he has an open mouth. The original one was, as you know, closed mouth. So you don't get anything with the teeth or the inside of the mouth on him because the fact he's, meant to be that different pose, he's more standard pose. So they did an excellent job with the mouth, with the teeth, with the jaws, everything on this one. The roaring pose is like incredible on this. If I had to pick anything, I would say maybe a little less pink in the mouth part, but that's being nitpicky. I mean, other than that, that part of the pose, his stance, everything, they knocked it out of the park on this. Incredibly cool figure. Now, there is one thing with the difference between the two that I was kind of, like a lot of people with version 1, was a little disappointed. And this is going to sound funny, but his backside. Now, his backside has kind of a little grayish tint to it. It's not horrible, but it's something you notice. And as some people put it, it almost looks like he sat in paint. Now, people wondered why. Now, I don't know, maybe because he was supposed to be dry, completely dry in this one, and that's why he has a little slightly lighter coloring a little bit in spots. This one, he's supposed to be wet. So on this one, he does not have that distortion on his backside. Yeah, I know, you think I'm like obsessed with Kong's butt here. But, the fact is he doesn't have that discoloration, which actually makes this slightly better I mean, I love both poses. I love both figures, but that's one thing that kind of just gives him a little, maybe little advantage. Now, like I said with the wetness and stuff, as far as, because this scene takes place in the water, where this one's more of a scene where it's dry. If you look at his hands and his feet on this one, they're a little grayer. This one's a little more black, potentially because there was wetness on them or something. Because he's standing in the water at times, he's reaching into the water, stuff like that. So his hands and feet have some wetness on them, even though it doesn't have a glossiness per se to be wet, but it does have a slight different coloring. So maybe that's why they did that. Not sure, but either way, it's fine with me. Like with either of these. So that's definitely something cool with this figure. Now, the other part with this is that the deluxe variant comes with the stands, or the bases, I should say. Now, with version 1, they went with more of an island motif with these little mountains on it and stuff. It also has this little like rivery looking thing in the middle. So, which was well done. Has that glossiness of the wetness, of like water. So they did a pretty good job with this one. I'm not, I love it. I mean, it's great. I'm not big on bases, but that one's, definitely cool. Now with version 2 though, they did some of the same things. They try to use the scene as basis. So they have a boat, which that's where he gets the propeller from. Now the boat, like with that, everything's kind of scaled down on the base. So the boat's a little smaller than technically it should be, but it's because the base stuff is scaled down. You also have these little kind of mossy looking stuff around it. Cool, very cool detail and stuff. The only thing, if I had to pick something with this, as far as the actual design of the base, is the portion where it's not either moss or the boat. I would think it would have been more wet. It almost looks like it's muddy in a sense. So he's like standing on top of more of a muddy area rather than a wet area, because that scene took place, it was kind of more like wasn't like deep water, but it was like no water. So that, I wish they would have made maybe a little bit of a more wetness to this, but that's again being nitpicky. Now another thing I thought was interesting with this, with the base, is that they picked this like sort of rock wall to go around the edge of it. Now there's no rock walls or anything like that in the movie, so they did it more probably just for aesthetics, like to make it look nice and give it like finished off look to the base. Not a horrible thing, but just just something to note. I think it still looks cool, but again, just a note. But the other thing which they did on this one, which they didn't do on the first version, is they have the Kong Skull Island name on there. Now, that's cool that they did that. The biggest issue I have with that is, why didn't they put it here on the front rather than on top? If you have this displayed, this is what you're seeing. You're not seeing really that thing unless you're looking at it on a lower shelf and you can see it down onto the thing and see the nameplate. They really should have put the nameplate on the front. I think it would have looked better here, directly on the front of it rather than on top. Not horrible, but it's just something that I felt that they should have did. But again, fine the way it is. Overall, the statue is awesome. Now, there is one thing which I haven't heard anybody bring up with this figure. And a lot of people, especially with the Godzillas, they'll say, oh, was it suit accurate? Or is it, is it really like that way in the movie? Does the suit look that way? Well, there's one inaccuracy with this. The propeller. The propeller is never in his right hand in the film. And I actually went back and looked at it. It's not in there. What happens is he falls backwards, gets by the boat. There's chains and stuff attached to him. He gets up. He's breaking the chains, getting out of the thing. He has a chain stuck on his arm that he pulls, and it's caught on something. He kind of looks back, realizes it's stuck on the propeller. He yanks that chain, the propeller goes flying forward, then he whips it back and then whips it forward again, and it hits the skull crawler, gets stuck in the skull crawler. He's never actually holding it in his hand other than having the chain basically attached to him. After he's fighting the skull crawler, he ends up taking the propeller and it's in his left hand. So he has it kind of like this, but it's in this hand, not that hand. And then he hits the skull crawler with it and jabs it into like the skull crawler again. Or no, actually, excuse me. He actually punches him almost with the propeller in his hand. So he like punches him and then he drops it. But that whole time he has it in his left hand, not his right hand. So this is actually, that's the one thing. This is actually technically inaccurate because the propeller's in the wrong hand. Now, whether X Plus knew this and they just decided it looked better in his right hand, you know, I mean, looking at the pose, the way he's posed, like this, you know, like almost like he's going to throw like the thing or swing this way, it does look better with it in this hand, but like he actually doesn't technically have it in that hand ever in the movie. So that's just an interesting note I found. I mean, I don't care if it's in the wrong hand. It doesn't make a difference to me. But it's just one of those things. I'm like, wait a minute, did he have it? And I was like, I look back and I'm like, nope, he never had that propeller in that hand. So one of those things you just, you know, trivia kind of thing. But with that said, this is an excellent figure. Incredible sculpt. Incredible detail on this guy. Paint apps are amazing. You know, if I had to compare version 1 and version 2, taking like pose out of the deal. Because obviously some people are going to like this pose, the dramatic pose. Some like the other pose. But taking the poses out of it, if I had to pick one over the other, I would say this one, but only by a very small margin. I love that figure. I think it's incredible. I love the pose too. It's not like I have anything against the pose. So it's based on, this is basically strict on detail of each figure. I would say this one's slightly better of the two. But you can't go wrong if you got that one or this one. I got both because I like both. I like having them in that dramatic pose like this or the standard pose. There's more, you know, tough guy pose, so to speak. So with that, I want to thank everybody for watching my review. And this guy's going to win. Just saying. Leslie, just saying. Hey, he's winning. So thank you very much, and I'll see you soon.